Good morning.
Morning, Judge.
I call cause number 511300 in the estate of Jinping Creek, aka Jinping Zen, on application of probated will and letters testamentary. Mr. Lin, are you ready to proceed?
I'm ready, Your Honor. My client is muted. Let me talk to my client. Okay,
Thank you.
Yes, I'm muted now. We are ready, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll need to swear in your clients. If you could please raise your right hand. Mr. Wang?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm raising my right hand right now.
Thank you. Mr. Lin, you'll have one witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Mr. Lin, you may proceed.
Mr. Wayne, please state your full name to the court.
My full name is Ray Wang. It's R-U-I for the first name, and the last name is W-A-N-G.
And Mr. Wayne, you are a resident of Texas, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, and the last four digits of your social number is 4558, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, the decedent, Jinping Kirk, and aka Jinping Zhang, is your mother, right?
That's correct.
Unfortunately, your mother passed away on October 4, 2022 in Harris County, Texas, at the age of 58 years, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and at the time of her death, her residence was in Harris County, Texas, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and your mother left a will dated September 27 of 2019, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the will has been submitted to the court, right?
That's correct.
All right, and you are asking the court to appoint you as the attorney, as the executor for the will, correct?
That's correct.
And you don't have any criminal record, or there is no law that prohibit you from serving as the executor of the will, right?
That's correct.
All right, and okay. Your Honor, can you show me the signature page of the will and show to my client?
I don't have the will uploaded. I only have the order.
The will was filed to the court. The original one was filed to the court already. Anyway, all right. So
Yeah.
you asked the court to appoint you as the independent executor without the need of posting the bond, correct?
And that's correct.
Okay, that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Jinping Creek, dated September 27, 2019, constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Ri Wang was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Rui Wang is appointed independent executor to serve without bond. And Mr. Lin, is this a non-taxable estate, or are you asking the court to waive the necessity of appraisers?
That's right, Your Honor. This is the a very simple estate situation, and Ray is the only beneficiary of the estate. So we ask the court to waive the appraisal. Yeah.
Thank you. The court waives the necessity of appraisers. Mr. Wang, so sorry for the loss of your mother. Thank you for your time here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Mr. Lin, I'm signing the order, and you may be excused.
Thank
You
you.
may be excused, Mr. Wang, as well. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day.
Good day.
I call cause number 512179 in the estate of Michael J. O'Brien on application of probate of wills and letters of testamentary. Ms. Rendon, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You'll be giving testimony. Do you
Yes,
solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor, could you first take judicial notice that the original will is in possession of the court, please?
Yes, the court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Decedent Michael J. O'Brien died on August 29th, 2022 in Harris County, Texas. Decedent's date of death was less than 4 years ago. Decedent was a resident of Harris County at his time of death. I'm looking at a copy of the will that's dated December 11th, 2017, and I do recognize that to be the will of Michael J. O'Brien. To the best of my knowledge, he did not revoke his will. Decedent was not divorced after the date of the will. There were no children born to or adopted by decedent after the date of the will. There is no state, government agency, or charitable organization named as a devotee in the will. There is a necessity for an administration. The decedent's will names his daughter, Catherine O'Brien, who's also known as Catherine L. Covan, as his executor. She is qualified and not disqualified to serve as such and accept letters. The will self-proved, the state's non-taxable, and we request the appraisal be waived, Your Honor.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Michael J. O'Brien, dated December 11th, 2017, constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Catherine O'Brien, aka Catherine Covan, was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Catherine O'Brien, aka Catherine L. Covan, is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. I'll sign your document there, Ms. Wanda, and thank you for your time. You are excused. You too. I call case number 509537, the estate of Mattie P. Johnson Williams. Okay. I'm going to skip that one. Okay, I call cause number 512279 in the estate of Claudia Brantley Ledger, aka Claudia Ann Ledger, on application of probate of wills and letters of testamentary. Ms. Zanero, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor, and I believe my client is on as well.
Okay, and I'll need your client to raise their right hand and unmute themselves. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Zanero.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Vandercook, would you please state your full name for the record?
Sandra Vandercook.
And what was your relationship to Claudia Brantley Ledger?
I'm her daughter.
Okay. And did she pass away on October 22nd, 2022 in Harris County, Texas?
Yes.
Was she 73 years old at that time?
Yes.
Have 4 years passed since her death?
No.
Did your mother have a fixed place of residence in Harris County at the time of her death?
Yes,
Do you have a copy of her will in front of you?
I do.
Okay, is that document, which is dated February 5th, 2021, Miss Ledger's validly executed will?
Yes.
Do you recognize the signature of your mother on that will?
Yes.
Okay, and to the best of your knowledge, was that will ever revoked?
No.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd like the court to take judicial notice that the original will is on file with the court.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vandercook, is it correct that no children were born to or adopted by your mother after the date of this will?
Correct.
And is it also correct that no marriage or divorce happened with your mother after the date of this will?
Correct.
Okay. She was married to Lewis Ledger Jr., is that correct?
Yes.
And they were married at the time of her death?
Correct.
Okay. Is it correct that this will does not name the state of Texas, any government agency of the state of Texas, or charitable organization as a devisee?
Correct.
Is it your testimony that there's a necessity of administration of this estate?
Yes.
Is it true that you're named in the will as the independent executor to serve without bond?
Yes.
Is it true that you are not disqualified by law from accepting letters testamentary?
True.
Okay. Judge, we ask that you admit the will of Claudia Brantley Ledger to probate and to name Sandra Vandercook as independent executor to serve without bond. And this is a non-taxable estate. And we ask that appraisers be waived.
Thank you. Ms. Vandercook, I am so sorry for the loss of your mother, but thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Claudia Brantley Ledger, aka Claudia and Ledger, dated February 5th, 2021, constitutes valid will. Further, the court finds that Sandra R. Vandercook was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Sandra R. Vandercook is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. And I'll sign your document, Ms. Zanero. Thank you for your time. Thank you both. You may be excused.
Thank you.
I call cause number 509428 in the estate of Craig Anthony Rogers on application of probate of will with letters of testamentary. Mr. Mixa, are you
Yes,
ready?
good morning, Judge Jacks, here with the applicant, Ms. Rogers.
All right. She'll raise your right hand. I can swear her in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Mixa.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you state your full name for the court, please?
Shanna Lee Rogers.
And you are the widow of Craig Anthony Rogers.
Yes.
Did Ms. Rogers pass away on or about December 2nd, 2021?
Yes.
And he was in Lubbock, Texas at that time. Did Mr. Rogers have a fixed place of residence in Harris County, Texas at that time?
Yes.
And you and he have been residents of Harris County for many years.
Yes.
Did Mr. Rogers leave a last will and testament?
Yes.
And that's the doc that we've submitted to the court that was signed on September 15th of 2003.
Yes.
We'd ask the court to take judicial notice of the documents on file, including the will.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. You may proceed, Mr.
Thank you.
Mixa.
Thank you, Judge. Is there a necessity for administering the estate?
Yes.
Is the will self-proved?
Yes.
And as far as you know, Mr. Rogers never revoked that will after signing it, did he?
No.
No state, government agency, charitable organization is named in the will as a beneficiary, is it?
No.
And Mr. Rogers had no children born to him or adopted by him after the signing of the will?
No.
And he did not have a marriage dissolved after signing the will?
No.
Does the will name you to serve as independent executor of the estate?
Yes.
Are you qualified to serve?
Yes.
And you know of no reason why you might be disqualified from serving, correct?
No.
That's all we have, Judge, and we're asking appraiser to be waived as a non-taxable estate.
Thank you, Mr. Mixa. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Craig Anthony Rogers dated September 15th, 2003 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Shanna Lee Rogers was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Shanna Lee Rogers is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Ms. Rogers, I'm truly sorry for the loss of your husband, but thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Welcome. Mr. Mixa, I'm signing the order currently, and you may be excused.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. I call cause number 512447 in the estate of Robert Gutierrez, aka Roberto Gutierrez, on application of probate of will as minument of title. Mr. Bellman, are you ready to proceed?
Ready to proceed, and I'm the only witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Okay. My name is Richard Bellman. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Judy Elaine Gutierrez, the surviving spouse of the decedent. Mr. Gutierrez died April the 4th, 2022, which is less than 4 years ago. At the time of his death, he was a resident of Katy, Harris County, Texas. At no time did he apply for or receive any Medicaid benefits. He left a valid will dated June 17th, 2008, which we have filed with the court and asked the court to take judicial notice that it is in the file.
Yes, the court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
And to the best of our knowledge, that will was never revoked and is self-proving in the manner required by law. The will named his wife, Judy Elaine Gutierrez, as independent executor. After the date of the will, there were no children born to or adopted by him, no change in his marital status. The will does not name a state, government agency, or charity as a beneficiary. To the best of our knowledge, there are no unpaid debts or need for administration, and we'd asked the court accept the will as a muniment of title only. And since Ms. Gutierrez is the sole beneficiary, that they waive the affidavit of fulfillment. Nothing further.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Robert Gutierrez, aka Roberto Gutierrez, dated June 17, 2008, constitutes a valid will, and that there is no necessity for the administration of this estate. The court admits the will of Robert Gutierrez, aka Roberto Gutierrez, to probate as muniment of title only. I'll sign that currently. Thank you, Mr. Bellman. You may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Okay. I call cause number 512367 in the estate of William John Teeter on application of probate of will and letters testamentary. Mr. Tibbetts, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Thank you. And do I need to swear in?
Yes, my witness is here with me.
Okay, if you'll please raise your hand, Mr. Teeter.
That's correct. James Allen Teeter.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Tibbetts.
Is your name James Allen Teeter?
Yes.
Are you the son of the decedent William John Teeter?
Yes.
Did your father pass away on January 3rd, 2023 in Harris County, Texas at the age of 96?
Yes.
Did he leave a last will and testament dated October 2nd, 1995?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court to take judicial notice that the original of that will is on file with the court.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
To the best of your knowledge, did your father ever revoke this will?
No.
Were any children born to or adopted by him after he made the will?
No.
Was he ever divorced after making the will?
Yes.
Your mother, Betty Bishop Teeter, predeceased your father, is that right?
That's correct.
And after her death, he married Linda Joyce Teeter in 2003, is that right?
That's correct.
And they were then divorced on November 22nd, 2006.
That's correct.
And he was never married after that or divorced after that.
Correct.
Is there a necessity for the administration of your father's estate?
Yes.
Now, your mother was named as the independent executor in the will, and she predeceased your father, correct?
Yes.
And you are named as successor independent executor of the estate in the will.
Yes.
And your brother, Richard John Teeter, is also named as a successor executor, and he has filed his declination declining to serve as a co-executor. Is that right?
Yes.
Or is it true that you are qualified and not disqualified from serving as executor of this estate?
Yes.
Is the state of Texas or any agency of the state or any charitable organization named as a beneficiary of the will?
No.
And it is a non-taxable estate, Your Honor.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of William John Teeter dated October 2nd, 1995 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that James Allen Teeter was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and James Allen Teeter is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Sign the order right now. Mr. Teeter, I'm so sorry for the loss of your father, but thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Tibbetts, you are excused.
Thank you.
I call cause number 512539 in the estate of Carol Lammers Young on application of probate of wills, letters, and with letters testamentary. Mr. Davidson, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, we're ready. Raise your right hand.
Okay. All right, thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Please state your name. Okay, sorry, Your Honor. May I
That's
proceed?
okay. Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. Please state your name for the court.
Marcel Jean Cavazos.
And the decedent Carol Lammers Young was your mother, is that correct?
Correct.
And your mom passed away on December 24th, 2022, here in Baytown, Harris County, Texas, at the age of 74, is that right?
Yes.
And I'm showing you a copy of the last will and testament dated July 22nd, 2022. Do you recognize that as your mom's signature?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, that document was never revoked, was it?
No.
And this court has jurisdiction and venue over your mom's estate, and that she had a fixed place of residence here in Harris County at the time of her passing, didn't she?
Yes.
And no state governmental agency or charitable organization is named in this will as a devisee, are they?
No.
And after the date the will was made, there were no children born to or adopted by your mom, were there?
No.
And there were no marriages dissolved after the date of the will, were there?
No.
And her will named you, Marcel Jean Cavazos, to serve as independent executor without bond, is that correct?
Yes.
And you are qualified to serve in that capacity and not disqualified, is that right?
Yes.
And today we're asking the court to admit your mom's will to probate and to appoint you as independent executor of the estate, is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, this is a non-taxable estate and would request that the appraisers are waived.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Carol Lammers Young dated July 27, 2022 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Marcel Jean Cavazos was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Marcel Jean Cavazos is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court weighs the necessity of appraiser. Further, the court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you, Ms. Cavazos. I'm so sorry for the loss of your mother. Thank you for your time here today. You're welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Signing the document, your order rather, right now. And Mr. Davidson, you are excused. Thank you.
Your Honor, I've got one more on your docket, so I can wait.
Okay. Then just, yeah, we'll call you in a moment. All right, I call cause number 512494 in the estate of Wanda and Winlet King on application of probate of will with letters testamentary. Ms. Graves, are you ready to proceed?
Your Honor, I'm Neil Wizig here on behalf of Ms. Graves.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wizig. And do you have a witness or are you giving testimony?
I do have a witness, Mr. Blaylock.
Okay, Mr. Blaylock, I'll need to swear you in. If you'll raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear, so swear.
Thank you. Mr. Wizig, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please state your full name for the court?
Yes, my full name is William Lee Brandon Blaylock.
Mr. Blaylock, you're here today on behalf of JP Morgan Chase Bank, correct?
That's correct.
And what is your role at JP Morgan?
I'm an estate officer.
Okay, and what was JP Morgan's relationship to the decedent, Ms. King?
We are named as her executor, and she was a client of the bank.
Okay, and did Ms. King die on October 22nd, 2022 at the age of 83?
She did.
And at the time of her death, was she domiciled and have a fixed place of residence in Harris County?
She did.
And the date of her death was less than 4 years ago, correct?
That's correct.
Judge, we now ask if you take judicial notice of the original will that was previously placed on file.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Blaylock, to the best of your knowledge, the will of Ms. King dated November 11th, 2015, at the time, was the decedent at least 18 years of age and of sound mind?
That's correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, did the decedent ever revoke the will?
No.
Okay, and after the date of the will, were any marriages of the decedent dissolved?
No.
And after the date of the will, were any marriages of the decedent dissolved?
No.
And the names of the witnesses to the will were Michael D. Allen and Lexi Fuller, correct?
Yes, to my knowledge.
And the will is self-proved under the Texas Estates Code, correct?
Yes.
And the will did not name the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state of Texas, or a charitable organization as a D by Z, correct?
That's right.
And there is a necessity for administration of Miss King's estate, correct?
Yes.
And the will did name Perry Richard Perryman, aka Richard Perryman, to serve without bond as independent executor of the estate, correct?
That's right.
But Mr. Perryman executed a declination to serve on January 5th of 2023, which has previously been placed on file with this court, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and JP Morgan Chase Bank is named in the will to serve as the successor independent executor of the estate, correct?
That's correct.
And JP Morgan is qualified and not disqualified by law from serving as the independent executor and accepting letters testamentary, correct?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
The bank is qualified to serve as independent executor and for accepting letters testamentary?
That's correct.
Okay, Judge, we now ask that you admit the last will of Wanda King to probate, appoint JP Morgan Chase Bank as the independent executor, and also request that you waive the appointment of appraisers.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Wanda and Windland King dated November 11th, 2015 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that JP Morgan Chase Bank NA was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and JP Morgan Chase Bank NA is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Sign the order. Thank you, Mr. Wisick, for your time.
Thank you, Judge.
You're excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. I call cause number 512490 in the estate of Sally Ann Gustwick Quast on application of probated wills with letters testamentary. Mr. Hetherington, are you ready to proceed?
Good morning, Your Honor. We are.
Thank you. And do I need to swear witnesses, or will you be giving testimony?
I'll be giving testimony, and so will my client, who is, I believe, is on her phone, from what I can tell.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you. If you'll both raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Hetherington.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sally Ann Gustwick Quast died at the age of 88 here in Houston on December 12, 2022. At the age of 88 years, she lived here for all of her life, and she left a valid self-proven will dated December 6, 2022. We'd ask the court to take judicial notice of that will.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
The will did not provide for any beneficiary that was a governmental agency or charitable organization. No children were born or adopted, certainly by Sally Ann Gustwick Quast at the time of her death. And the will named Aaron Ashley John Hester to serve as independent executor. Aaron, is there any reason that you would be disqualified from serving in that capacity?
No, sir.
Your Honor, the estate is non-taxable. We'd ask that the appraisers be waived, that the will be admitted to probate, and that Aaron Ashley John Hester, who is the granddaughter of the decedent, be named as independent executrix under the will.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Sally Ann Gustwick Quast dated December 6, 2022 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Aaron Ashley Jan Hester was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Aaron Ashley Jan Hester is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Thank you, Miss Jan Hester, and I'm so sorry for the loss of your loved one.
Thank you.
for your time. Thank you for your time here today.
Thank you for the court's time, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. I'll sign the order and you may be excused.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I call cause number. Oh.
You're next.
I call cause number 512-269 in the estate of Elizabeth Frances Hausler Higgins. Mr. Davidson, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, do you have any witnesses that need to be sworn in?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. And my witness is here in the office.
Okay, if you'll please raise your right
Raise your
hand. Okay, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Davidson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name for the court.
Kathleen Higgins Littlefield.
And you were the daughter of the decedent Elizabeth Frances Hausler Higgins.
Yes.
And your mom passed away on November 20th, 2022 here in Baytown, Harris County, Texas at the age of 94 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
And this court has jurisdiction and venue over this matter, and that your mom had a fixed place of residence in Harris County at the time of her death, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
And we have filed with the court the document which purports to be her last will and testament dated April 9th, 2019. And to the best of your knowledge, that document was never revoked, was it?
No.
Your Honor, I request that you take judicial notice that the original of the will is in your file.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your mom did not apply for or receive any Medicaid benefits after March 1st, 2005, did she?
No, she did not.
And there were no children born to or adopted by your mom after the date of the will, were there?
No.
There was no marriage of your mom dissolved after the date of the will, was there?
No.
And neither the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state, or a charitable organization is named in the will as a devisee, are they?
No.
And you've investigated your mom's affairs, and there are no outstanding debts owing by your mom's estate other than those that may be secured by real property. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Your Honor, we're asking that the will be admitted to probate as a muniment of title only.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Elizabeth Frances Hausler Higgins dated April 9th, 2019 constitutes a valid will, and that there is no necessity for the administration of the estate. The court admits the will of Elizabeth Frances Hausler Higgins to probate as a muniment of title only. Find that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Littlefield, thank you so much for your time, and I'm so sorry for the loss of your mother.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. See if I can sign this. Thank you, Mr. Davidson. I've signed your order and you may be excused if you have nothing further.
Your Honor.
I call cause number 512-256 in the estate of Bonnie Mae Chromack on application of probate of will with letters testamentary. Mr. Archer, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Golly, I'm getting some big feedback. Can you turn this off? Okay, is that better?
Just a bit. There's still some echo.
Okay, let me see. Maybe if I back in just a moment, let me have my assistant because it's going twice. We got it up twice is what the problem is.
Okay.
Leave that meeting. Okay. Okay.
That
Let's see
sounds
if that-
better.
There we go.
That sounds better.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Your Honor. Okay. May it please the court.
Yes, you may proceed, Mr. Archer. And do you have witnesses that need to be sworn in?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. We have David Chromack, Ashley McClellan, and we have Marie Sheffer.
Okay, I'll need everybody's video to be on and mute off. So Ashley and David Chromack, and I need to see your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chromack? Yes,
Yes.
I think you may be on mute. No, you're not on mute. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chromack. All right, Mr. Archer, you may proceed.
All right, thank you. David, please state your name for the court.
David Sean Chromack,
And how are you related to the decedent Bonnie Mae Chromack?
her son.
Okay. Is it true that Bonnie Mae Chromack died on December the 23rd, 2022, here in Houston, Harris County, Texas, at the age of 82 years?
Yes,
That 4 years have not elapsed since the date of death and the filing of the application. Is that correct?
yes,
And she had her fixed place of domicile here in Harris County at the time of her death. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. And you are familiar with the will that's dated June the 16th of 2010. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. Were there any children born or adopted by your mother after the date of the will?
no,
Okay. And let's see here. I think that I don't see the court showing the will, but you are familiar with that signature of your mother. Is that correct?
yes,
And that does appear to be your signature on that will.
yes,
And you asked this court to take judicial notice that that is the original will that's on file with the court.
yes,
Okay.
Court takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And your mother is married to your father, Dan Chromack, at the time of her death. Is that correct?
yes,
And a necessity does exist for the administration of this estate. Is that correct?
yes,
And your father filed a declination to serve as executor. Isn't that correct? And you are listed as the alternate executor.
yes, yes,
And there's no charitable organization or governmental agency listed in the will as a beneficiary. Is that correct?
yes, there is none.
And you are not otherwise disqualified as serving as independent executor because you've
Yes.
not been correct. You've not been convicted of any felonies or anything of that
No.
sort. Okay.
No,
And this is a non-taxable estate, and so therefore you ask this court to waive all appraisers. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. And we do have an original will on file with the court, but we are missing a page, and it had the signature of your mother on that. And so therefore, I want to call two other witnesses. Miss Ashley McClellan, are you present?
Yes.
Okay. And are you familiar with your mother's signature?
Yes.
And did it appear to be her signature on that will?
Yes.
Okay. And you have received many postcards, and you've seen her write her signature many times. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And she was of sound mind and attained the age of 18 years of age at the time that she drafted that will. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Marie Sheffer.
Yes.
Okay. You are also familiar with the signature of Bonnie Mae Chromack, are you not?
Yes.
And you've received postcards and letters, and you've seen her sign her documents before. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you're not a beneficiary of the estate, and you have no interest in the estate. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And Bonnie Mae Chromack was of sound mind and obtained the age of 18 at the time that she had signed the will. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that is her original signature. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. With that, Your Honor, I pass the witnesses and ask the court to admit the will to probate and allow for Mr. David Chromack to be independent executor of the estate.
All right. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Bonnie Mae Chromack dated June 16, 2010 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that David Sean Chromack was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and David Sean Chromack is appointed independent executor to serve without bond. Are you asking the court to waive the necessity of appraisers? I'm sorry, Mr. Archer.
Yes, Your Honor, we did. This is a non-taxable estate, so we
Thank
do
you.
ask the court to waive.
Thank you. The court waives the necessity of their appraisers. I'll sign your order. Thank you. To the Chromack family, I'm so sorry for your loss. But thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we
You're
be
welcome.
excused?
Yes, Mr. Archer, you are excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
I call cause number 511955 in the estate of Angela Meza Loftus on application of probate of will with letters testamentary. Mr. Kirkpatrick, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, and I'll be testifying today.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
May it please the court.
Yes.
My name is Byron Kirkpatrick. I represent the applicant, Lorraine Michelle Banks, in the probate of the last will and testament of Angela Meza Loftus. The original will and testament of Angela Meza Loftus is in the court's possession. She was actually my office manager for over 25 years, and I'm familiar with her signature, and her signature is her signature that's on the will. To the best of my knowledge, that document has never been revoked. And I have committed my testimony to a written proof of death and other facts. Everything stated in the unexecuted proof of death and other facts is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, and is accurately reflects all of the requirements to prove up a valid validity of this will. This is not a taxable estate, and I'm asking the court to appoint Lorraine Michelle Banks as the independent executor of the estate and serve without bond, and that the appraisal be waived.
Thank you. After hearing testimony, the court finds the will of Angela Meza Loftus dated August 28th, 1989 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Lauren Michelle Banks, aka Lauren Michelle Loftus, was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Lorraine Michelle Banks, aka Lauren Michelle Loftus, is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Court also takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Kirkpatrick. You may be excused.
You have a good morning. Bye.
You too. Sign your document.
Thank you.
Thank you. I call cause number 512826 in the estate of Teresa Lynn Burke on application of administration. Mr. Elliott, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, and I have one witness, Tiffany Bertrand.
Okay. Ms. Bertrand, will you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
May I
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tiffany, will you please state your name for the court?
Tiffany Amber Bertrand.
And are you the applicant in this matter for the appointment of a dependent administrator for the estate of Teresa Lynn Burke?
Yes.
And what is your relationship to Teresa Burke?
She's my sister.
And to the best of your knowledge, did your sister Teresa die on January 11th, 2023 at the age of 54 years in Houston, Harris County, Texas?
Yes.
And she was domiciled in and a resident of Harris County, Texas at the time of her death?
Yes.
And was the decedent ever married?
No.
And is it true the decedent only had one child, a Grant Thomas Corpus?
Yes.
And Grant Corpus filed a consent with the court for you to be administrator, is that correct?
Yes, that is.
And did the decedent have a will?
Not to my knowledge.
And did you conduct a search for a will?
I did.
No, y'all were not able to find one, correct?
No.
Are there two more debts of this estate and therefore does a necessity exist for administration of this estate?
Yes.
And you're asking the court to appoint you to serve as a dependent administrator, is that correct?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, you're qualified and not disqualified from serving as dependent administrator?
Yes.
Okay, I'm asking you a little bit of information about the assets for the purpose of the bond. At the time of her death, the decedent owned one piece of real property in Harris County, Texas, is that correct?
Yes.
And then she had 3 cars worth around an estimated total of $65,000, is that correct?
That's correct.
And one or more of those vehicles had liens against them, is that true?
True. Yes.
Okay. And you don't have any idea what cash assets may be in any bank accounts, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But as far as household goods and personal effects, would you estimate the value to be around $10,000?
Yes. The last time I was in there, I would say yes.
Okay. Other than those assets, are you aware of any other assets the decedent owned at the time of her death?
I am not.
Okay. Your Honor, for the vehicles and the household goods, we think a bond of $75,000 would be appropriate, and the cash in the bank accounts is unknown, but we don't expect it to be very much there, but we don't have any information on that.
I'll just add the 10% that's allowed by court just to ensure we have something for the
Okay.
possibility of what may be in the bank account. So the 82,500.
Okay.
Thank you. The court finds that after hearing testimony, the court finds there is a necessity of the administration of this estate. The court grants request for dependent administration and admits the estate of Teresa Lynn Burke to probate for letters of dependent administration. The court appoints Tiffany Bertrand as dependent administrator, subject to filing her own with a bound amount of $82,500. Find this. Finding your order, Mr. Elliott. Ms. Bertrand, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm so sorry for the loss of your sister.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Elliott, you may be excused.
Okay. And that order is being signed today, Your Honor?
Yes, I just signed it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Have a good day. I call cause number 510391 in the estate of Robert Leon White on application of probate of will and letters of testamentary. Mr. Walker, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor. We will have 3 witnesses in this particular probate matter: a Kelly Burley, a Mike McCaskill, and a Danny Middleton.
Danny Middleton. I don't see a Danny. Oh, Danny.
Yeah.
I don't see a McCaskill.
He's down here. He's unmuted. I mean, he's muted. I see him down. Just maybe he's on a iPhone. I'm not quite sure.
I need to see his hand raised to sign. I mean, to give him the.
Yeah, I understand. He's unmuted now, so he might. Mike, can you turn on your screen now?
I'm trying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your Honor, while he's doing that, this particular matter and both of these. Oh, great, you're there.
Right.
Both
if you
of
could
these.
raise your right. Go ahead. If you could raise your right hand, each of the witnesses for this matter. Raise your right hand, and after I swear you, and you'll say yes or I do. Mr. Middleton as well.
Can't see your hand. There it is.
All right, thank you so much. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Walker, what were you commenting on?
Yes, Your Honor. Both of these estates, the one we'll do in the next case, do not have self-proving affidavits. And I was curious, do you want me to do the witnesses to proving up the will signature prior to doing the testimony of the applicant?
That would be perfect if you could do that.
Okay,
First.
thank you for instruction, Your Honor. So I'd like to call Mike McCaskill first. Mr. McCaskill, you're familiar with Robert Waite?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and you're not related to him by marriage or blood, or you don't benefit anything from his will, is that correct?
That's correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, he did pass away in December 26th of 2020.
That's correct.
And I emailed you, and maybe you've seen previously, the will of Mr. Waite, of Robert Waite. You were actually one of the witnesses at the time of the execution of that will. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so you did see the decedent sign the will?
I did.
Okay, and you saw the other witness, I think Mr. Robert Finley, also signed the will, correct?
Correct.
And at the time, Mr. Waite was over 18 years old, and the best of your knowledge, he was of sound mind and when he executed the will?
Yes.
And you were there, and you were over 14 at the time when that took place, correct?
Yes, I was.
Great. Okay, no further questions for that witness, but you were there, you saw it. That signature that is on the will, you recognize that as Mr. Waite's signature?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask you to take judicial notice of the original will that was filed with the court previously.
Thank you. The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Thank you. If I may proceed, I'll ask talk with Mr. Middleton.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Middleton, can you hear me just fine?
Yes, I can.
Okay, terrific. Now, you are not related to Mr. Waite in any way by blood or marriage, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're not benefiting from any of this, but you are aware that he passed away on December 26, 2020, correct?
Yes.
And I emailed you, or you've previously seen the will that we're probating today of Mr. Waite. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how would you know, and you've looked at that signature, but how would you know that is Mr. Waite's signature?
He worked for me for about 5 years.
Okay, so you very familiar with the signature, had seen it numerous times on numerous documents?
Correct.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, when he signed this will, he would have been of sound mind. This was when he signed this will.
Yes.
And you don't stand to gain anything from your testimony. You're not being paid anything for this testimony.
No.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Thank you. You may proceed with your next witness.
Thank you. Kelly Burley, would you please state your name for the court and where you live?
My name is Kelly Burley, and I live in Austin, Texas.
What was your relationship to Mr. Waite?
He was my father.
Right. And your father passed away in Houston, Harris County on December 26, 2020 at age 80, correct?
That's correct.
And he had his residence here in Harris County at the time, correct?
Correct.
In the will, he does name you as the executrix of his will.
Yes, that's correct.
And you're not disqualified from serving in that capacity, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you're seeking letters testamentary?
Yes.
And the will that we've just been discussing, you've seen that will and you're familiar with it, and you are asking the court to admit this will into probate, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. To your knowledge, your father never revoked it or amended it or had any codicils beyond what we have here?
That's correct.
No other children were born by your father after he signed it?
That's correct.
And this is important. Your father was married at the time to Shirley Waite, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The will does not name any charitable organization or governmental agency, correct?
Correct.
And you've read the application and everything in the application is true and correct as far as you know?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And it's not a taxable estate, and we do ask that you waive the appraisers and the bond.
Okay, thank you so much. After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Robert Leon White dated February 20th, 2008 constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Kelly Lee Waite Burley was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Kelly Lee Waite Burley is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers. Ms. Burley, I'm so sorry for the loss of your father. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Mr. Walker, I'll sign the order.
Terrific.
Forgetting to screen share. All right. And I call cause number 512-826 in the estate of Shirley Ann Waite on application of probate of will with letters testament. Mr. Walker, you may proceed.
Your Honor, could you restate the cause number? Because it's not lining up what I have.
Oh, sorry, 510393.
Okay, good, thanks. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Typo on my notes.
No, I get it. We have two witnesses, one, actually three. Danny Middleton has already been sworn in, but Dorothy Gray and Ellen Gardinelli.
Okay.
Gardinella, I'm sorry.
Ms. Gray and Ms. Gardinella, if you could raise your right hands and
y'all
unmute yourself.
unmute yourself, please, if you can. There you go. Great.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to go the same route with the witnesses that can authenticate the signature of the deceased first.
Thank you.
So I'll call Danny Middleton. And Mr. Middleton, you're acquainted with the life of Shirley Ann Waite?
Yes.
And you're not related to her by blood or marriage or anything like that?
Correct. Yes.
And to your knowledge, she did pass away September 15th, 2022 here in Harris County?
Yes.
And I emailed you, or you've seen a copy of the will that's been filed in this matter, and you've looked at the signature. Can you tell us how you know whether that is her original signature?
She worked for me for about 20 years.
Okay, so you're extremely familiar with her signature, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. You've seen the will as well, and we visited briefly, but just to make sure we're clear, you don't recognize the names of the other two witnesses, of Melvin Roby or Michael Bologna?
No, I do not.
Okay. And you feel confident she was of sound mind and over the age of 18 when she signed this will?
Yes.
And once again, you don't stand to benefit from this, and you're not being paid to do any of the give your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, we ask the court to take judicial notice of the will that's been placed on file.
The court takes judicial notice of the original will on file.
Thank you. No further questions for this witness. I'll call Dorothy Gray.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Mrs. Gray, please tell us, what city do you reside in?
Houston, Texas.
Great. And you're acquainted with Mrs. Shirley Ann Waite, is that correct?
I am.
And you're not related to her by blood or marriage, or you're not any beneficiary of this will, correct?
That's correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, she did pass away on September 15th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Now, you've either seen or you've gotten an email from me where there was a copy of the will, the last will and testament of hers. Did you, have you been able to look at that will and notice the signature of Mrs. Waite on there?
I was, yes.
And how would you, is that her signature? And how do you know for sure it is?
It is, excuse me, I worked with Shirley for over 20 years.
Okay. And I'll ask the same questions of you. I'm not sure you're familiar with Melvin Roby or Michael Bologna, the two witnesses that signed on the will.
I am not.
Okay. At the time Mrs. Waite signed this will, you would agree she was of sound mind and over the age of 18?
Yes,
And you don't stand to gain anything and you're not being paid for your testimony today, correct?
correct.
Good. I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Okay. Paul, Ellen Gurdanella. Did I pronounce that correct, Ellen? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Jordanella.
Jordanella.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please state for the court your name and where you live, please.
My name is Ellen Jordanella. I live in Chicago Ridge, Illinois.
Okay. And your relationship to Shirley Waite?
She was my mother.
She has passed away. And as we discussed, she passed away here in Harris County on September 15th, 2022 at the age of 80, correct?
Correct.
And she had a residence here, as we discussed. And are you named as the executrix in this will?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Are you disqualified from serving in that capacity?
No, sir.
Okay. And are you seeking letters testamentary from the court?
Yes.
Yes. Now, the will, to your knowledge, was never revoked. It was never amended, and there was never a codicil. Is that correct?
Correct.
No children were born after the date of your mother executing this will?
No, sir.
No, none born or adopted. And your mother was not married. She was not married because her husband had predeceased her, correct?
Correct.
And the will does not name a governmental agency or any kind of charity in it, correct?
Correct.
And you've reviewed the information that I filed in the application, and that information is correct.
Correct.
Your Honor, we request that you admit this will to probate, that it waive appraisers and no necessity for a bond. It's not a taxable estate.
Thank you.
Mhm.
After hearing testimony, the court finds that the will of Shirley Ann Waite, dated February 19, 2019, constitutes a valid will. Further, the court finds that Ellen Jordanella was named in the will to serve as independent executor. The will is admitted to probate, and Ellen Jordanella is appointed independent executor to serve without bond, and the court waives the necessity of appraisers.
Thank you, Your Honor. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Ms. Jordanella, I'm so sorry for the loss of your mother, and
thank you.
Thank you for your time as well, Mr. Middleton and Mr. McCaskill. Thank you for your time, and sorry for the loss of your friend and loved one. Thank you. And Mr. Archer, Walker, rather. You may be excused. Sorry.
We're excused.
You may be excused. Yes. Thank you all for your time, and have a
Thank
great
you.
afternoon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.